Tsukima Onna, Japanese horror legend. We all have many cracks and small spaces inside our houses where not even a thread can pass through. But what if a malevolent shadow has been hiding in that small gap waiting for you for a long time? 25-year-old Isamu lived in the city of Osaka, Japan. He had recently shifted into a new house. But from the day Isamu moved in, he started feeling strange. He always felt as if someone was constantly watching him. However, there was no one else in that house besides him. Wherever Isamu sat or whatever he was doing, he felt at all times as if someone was in the room with him. Sometimes while having dinner at night, he felt someone was staring at him from behind the curtains in the dining room. Other times, when he was in the bathroom, he felt as if someone was staring at him from under the bathroom door. Occasionally, when he was sleeping in the dark of night and his eyes suddenly opened, he would feel for a few moments that two white eyes were staring at him in the darkness. Fed up with all this, Isamu just wanted to find the thing that was staring at him. Therefore, Isamu began searching every corner of the house. When he looked behind the curtains, he felt someone was staring at him from a crack in the wall. When he looked into that crack, he felt the thing was watching him from under his bed. When he looked under the bed, he felt the thing was watching him from under his sofa. But he couldn't find anything anywhere. Slowly, Isamu began to lose his mental balance. Leaving everything else aside, he started spending all his time trying to find whatever was staring at him. He did this day and night. Any corner of the house where he didn't find the thing, he would seal it shut with tape. Gradually, almost his entire house was filled with taped-up areas. Isamu became so obsessed that he stopped going out of his house altogether. When his office friends reached his house several days later to ask why he hadn't been coming to work, they found Isamu lying on the floor. He was trembling with fear and crying. When his friends asked the reason for his condition, he told them he wasn't leaving the house because that girl wouldn't let him go anywhere. If he went outside, the girl would feel lonely and get offended, and if she got offended, she might even take Isamu's life. His friends found this extremely strange, and when they asked who the girl was and where she was, he pointed his finger toward the dressing table in his room. His friends found this even weirder because no one was there. Isamu said the girl was in the gap between that table and the wall. Hearing this, all his friends went to look at that gap to end his fear. But as soon as they reached the gap, their souls trembled with fear. Because in the mere 5-centimeter gap between the dressing table and the wall, a girl with long hair in a red dress was standing there just staring at them. That girl looked terrifying. Suddenly, the girl's hands came out of that gap. Her fingernails were very sharp. Slowly, she started coming out of that gap. Seeing this, all of Isamu's friends got very scared and ran away from his house, leaving him alone. After that day, Isamu was never seen by anyone again. What happened to Isamu, no one ever found out. But after that day, his friends who had come to meet him could never make eye contact with even the smallest gap in their own houses, because whenever they looked through those gaps, they saw the spirit of that same girl. A few months later, all his friends also disappeared forever. Why and where Isamu and his friends disappeared, no one knows to this day. But their acquaintances believe all this happened because of that girl's spirit, the spirit everyone calls Tsukima Onna. Tsukima Onna is a Japanese spirit also known as the girl in the gap. It is believed she is the soul of a girl who lives in the gaps of people's houses, and if someone encounters her even once, Tsukima Onna takes them with her to another dimension, a world from which no one can ever return, perhaps the world of the dead. No one knows the way to escape her yet, because even if someone seeks help to escape, she follows them to that person's house and kills them too. So friends, if you ever go to Japan, keep in mind that no one should be watching you in your room all the time. If it is so, it's better to leave that place immediately, because if it is Tsukima Onna, your life is in danger. Akai Onna. In life we meet many people and every meeting has its own feeling. But what if one meeting ruins your life? This is the story of a boy named Unaki living in Japan. Unaki's life was quite simple. College classes during the day, solving assignments in the library in the evening, and nights spent in computer gaming. But on the night of October 21st, his life changed completely. Unaki often went straight from college to the library to study. That day, Unaki was very tired, so he fell asleep in the library.
When he woke up, he saw the clock was 12:30 a.m. Unaki was never out of his house this late at night. He quickly packed his things and left for his house. Unaki's house was about 20 minutes away from the library, but there was also a shortcut to his house through which he could reach in just 10 minutes. However, everyone used to forbid him to take that shortcut. There were no lamps or lights on that shortcut. It was completely dark, and people said Akai Onna lived in that darkness. Akai Onna was a mysterious horror legend of Japan. It is said that many people see a girl in a red dress in the darkness of night, and if anyone sees her face, that girl follows them like a shadow. Many people either went missing or were found dead. But Unaki considered Akai Onna just a horror legend. Moreover, he had gone home through that shortcut many times before and never found anything. But this was the first time it had become so late. Unaki was very sleepy, and without a second thought, he started walking on that shortcut path. Initially, Unaki couldn't see anything on that path, but gradually, in the light of the sky, he started seeing the path a little bit. After walking some distance, Unaki suddenly saw a woman standing near a wall. That woman was wearing a red dress. Unaki suddenly felt anxious. He couldn't see the woman's face, and she was just standing silently in one place. Unaki began to feel that the legend of Akai Onna might be true. Still, Unaki kept walking forward with his head down without saying anything. But as soon as Unaki passed that woman, he couldn't resist and looked up to see her face, and he was stunned. The woman's face was terrifying, so white that it felt like the corpse of a woman was standing there. Unaki had never seen such a strange face in his life. Unaki got very scared seeing that woman and ran away quickly. Somehow he reached home. Unaki couldn't forget what he saw. That woman's face was as if imprinted inside his brain. The next day, Unaki started living his life with the same routine. But now, as evening approached, something strange started happening to him. He felt as if someone was present around him, watching him closely. One such night, Unaki was sleeping in his bed covered with a sheet. Then he felt as if someone pulled his sheet downward. Unaki woke up. He looked around with fearful eyes but saw nothing. But then a red shadow quickly went out of the room's window in front of his eyes. Unaki couldn't believe his eyes. He felt he was going crazy. He convinced himself that it was all his imagination and forcefully closed his eyes to sleep facing the ceiling. After trying to sleep for a while, Unaki opened his eyes in restlessness, and then what he saw was beyond this world. On the ceiling of his room, exactly above the bed, that same girl in the red dress was stuck to the wall, staring at him. Unaki screamed loudly and woke up right there. Unaki now realized that he was actually seeing all this in a dream. His throat was very dry and his whole body was soaked with sweat. He got up and started drinking water. While drinking water, Unaki's eyes went to the window of his room and the water glass slipped from his hand. Just outside the window, that same woman in the red dress was standing, staring at Unaki with her terrifying face. But as soon as Unaki turned on the lights, he saw no one was at the window. Day by day, these incidents kept increasing. He started seeing Akai Onna everywhere. Unaki also talked to some friends about this, but no one believed him. His mind was only thinking whether he would disappear now. Unaki's fear kept growing. He decided to go to the police station to seek help, but just then he heard the sound of his house main gate opening. Unaki gathered courage and went out to see. His house door was wide open and strong winds were coming inside. Unaki called a friend to tell him everything. Unaki just kept talking about the incidents that happened with him. Then while talking, he suddenly stopped because he felt someone's breath on his neck. Unaki understood that someone was standing behind him. Suddenly, he felt a hand coming on his neck. When he looked in the mirror, he trembled. Akai Onna was standing right behind him. Unaki fearfully said to his friend on the phone, "Akai Onna, she has come to take me. She has come to take me." A short while later, Unaki's friend reached his house. Unaki's whole house was in shambles. It looked like a storm had come inside. Unaki searched the whole house, but Unaki was nowhere to be found. Unaki had disappeared from his own house, and after that day, he was never seen by anyone again. Till now, no one knows what actually happened to Unaki. Who is Akai Onna and why is she making people disappear in Japan? We don't have answers to all these questions. But we only know that if you ever see such a woman standing in a dark alley, it is better to turn back from there.
Beike Chachin. We have always heard from people that if any trouble comes, God definitely shows some way or sends some support. But what if that same support takes your life? This is the story of 25-year-old Samuel, who had transferred from America to Tokyo. Samuel was a very cheerful person. Samuel's house was on the outskirts of a forest near Tokyo, and he liked that place very much. Like every night, that night too, he was walking home from the bus stop. He picked up his food from a noodle bar near his house every night. That day too, he was going to pick up his food and was just at the corner of the street when he heard the owner of the noodle bar, Mr. Tanaka, crying. He was about to go towards him when he saw a man who had tied a cloth with a skeleton print on his mouth. He was standing with a revolver pointed at Mr. Tanaka's head, threatening to kill him. Samuel took out his phone to call the police when he heard the sound of a gunshot, and in fear, his phone fell and broke. Samuel immediately hid. While hiding, when he looked toward Mr. Tanaka's body was lying on the ground, and that masked man was taking money from the shop's counter. Samuel ran away in fear, but his foot hit a trash can and he fell down. From the sound of his fall, the masked man, who was now coming out of the shop and had also removed the cloth from his mouth, turned toward Samuel. Both saw each other, and that man started running after Samuel. Samuel didn't want that man to see his house, so while running, he went and hid in a broken house in the inner area of the forest. When he saw the killer coming toward him through a broken window of that house, he ran and hid in the last room of the house. Then Samuel heard the door opening and the sound of the killer's footsteps. He felt that today he would suffer the same fate as Mr. Tanaka. The killer was coming closer to that room when suddenly the sound of a police siren started coming, and the killer got scared of it and ran away from that house. Samuel waited for a while and with great courage came out. By then the police car had also left. He took a matchbox out of his pocket and started looking for a way in the dark by lighting the last match in the box. The light of the match was very low. To increase the light, he burned the whole matchbox. Then Samuel saw an old white paper lantern lying in that last room. Samuel picked up that lantern and lit it. As soon as it was lit, the trees in the forest started swaying violently. It felt as if a storm had come outside. Wolves, hyenas, and monkeys started making noise from inside the forest, and suddenly that house's window shattered. Samuel was trying to understand these things when he saw a shadow formed on the yellow light of the lantern falling on the wall. The shadow was not Samuel's, but of some woman. The shadow slowly started coming toward him. Samuel felt the house was haunted. He quickly left and started finding the way home with the help of that lantern. But because Samuel was new to that area, despite the lantern light, he had lost his way instead of finding his house. He had now come quite deep into the forest. Samuel got very tired while walking, but he couldn't get out of that forest. He saw a tree nearby. Samuel sat leaning against the tree on the ground and placed that paper lantern on the ground. He closed his eyes. But after just a few moments, he felt as if someone was gripping his whole body. Samuel opened his eyes and saw two hands coming out of that paper lantern in the middle of the yellow light, slowly establishing their grip on Samuel's body. Those hands were rotten and had knife-cut marks on them. Samuel just tried to free his body from those hands. Those hands and arms kept gripping him. While struggling, Samuel's hand hit a large piece of wood, and with its help, he freed himself. Without a second thought, he hit that paper lantern hard and extinguished it. Then he crushed that paper lantern with his feet too, because it was clear that whatever happened was because of that paper lantern. As soon as he destroyed that paper lantern, a strange peace and thick darkness spread throughout the forest. Samuel couldn't see anything in that darkness. Then suddenly, that paper lantern lit up again, and its yellow light started falling into Samuel's eyes. Samuel saw that the paper lantern now had a mouth and a red pointed tongue coming out. Before Samuel could do anything, that lantern's pointed tongue had gripped Samuel's legs, and those same two thin, wound-filled hands started coming out of the paper lantern's mouth. In no time, a terrifying woman came out of that lantern and started flying in the air. Samuel was terrified seeing her. There were rotten knife wounds all over that woman's body, and she was looking at Samuel with angry eyes. Blood was coming from both eyes of that woman, and many cockroaches and insects were falling from her deep, long hair. That woman slowly started crying and moving toward Samuel. Coming very close to Samuel's face, that woman screamed very loudly and attacked Samuel. The next morning, 2 policemen who were investigating Mr. Tanaka's murder reached the forest following footprints and saw Samuel's body lying on the ground. There were deep knife marks all over Samuel's body. They looked around and saw that same white paper lantern. Seeing Samuel's condition and the paper lantern lying nearby, the police realized that the reason for Samuel's death was none other than Beike Chachin. Beike Chachin, or Chachin Obake, is the ghost of a person who died with hatred in their heart, and then their dark soul came to reside inside a paper lantern. That paper lantern has a mouth and sometimes 2 eyes as well, and if anyone lights that paper lantern, that ghost doesn't leave them alive. Beike Chachin is a Japanese urban legend because of which so much fear has spread among Japanese people that they sometimes tremble just seeing a paper lantern. Friends, what do you think about this Japanese urban legend? Do tell us in the comments.